What if a single real-world test could reveal almost everything about how efficient a vehicle truly is? Not in a lab, not in a simulation, but out on an actual road under real conditions where physics has the final say. That's exactly why this coastdown test matters so much and why the results are far more interesting than their first appear. A coastdown test is one of the most revealing efficiency tests you can perform on a vehicle. It doesn't rely on marketing claims or theoretical models. Instead, it lets gravity, friction, and air resistance tell the truth. This test simultaneously captures rolling resistance, mechanical resistance, and aerodynamic drag, all working together in the real world. And when a vehicle performs unusually well in this test, it immediately raises an important question: what's really going on under the surface? The basic idea behind a coastdown test is simple but incredibly powerful. You take a vehicle to the flattest road you can possibly find. Ideally, this happens on a test track designed to minimize elevation changes. You also want the calmest day available because even light wind can distort the results. Trees, shrubs, and surrounding vegetation can often reveal whether wind conditions are favorable. And in this case, the environment suggests the air was remarkably still. That's exactly what you want. Once conditions are right, the vehicle is brought up to a specific speed. At that point, it's shifted into neutral and allowed to glide freely. No propulsion, no regenerative braking, just pure physics acting on the car. From that moment on, only three forces are slowing it down: mechanical resistance, rolling resistance, and aerodynamic drag. The less resistance the vehicle has, the longer it takes to slow down and eventually stop. This is where things start to get interesting. In the test footage, speed readings are shown at specific time intervals. From start to finish, the vehicle takes several minutes to coast down completely. That alone tells you something significant is happening, but numbers matter more than impressions. So the next step was to translate those visible data points into something meaningful. The challenge was finding an existing tool that could take speed over time data and convert it into useful aerodynamic and rolling resistance values. Surprisingly, no ready-made solution fit the need, so the only option was to build it from scratch. A spreadsheet was created that allows speed inputs, time intervals, and physical parameters to interact according to well-established physics equations. This makes it possible to experiment with different values and see what kind of performance profile best matches the observed data. Before diving into the results, it's important to understand how these forces behave. At higher speeds, aerodynamic drag dominates. That's because aerodynamic drag increases with the square of velocity. Double the speed, and drag doesn't just double, it quadruples. Mechanical resistance and rolling resistance, on the other hand, remain relatively constant regardless of speed. If a vehicle experienced only rolling resistance, its speed would decrease in a nearly straight, linear line over time. But if aerodynamic drag were the only force at work, you'd see rapid deceleration at first, followed by a long, gradual tail as speed drops. In the real world, both forces are present, so the actual coastdown curve should fall somewhere between those two extremes. The aerodynamic drag equation helps explain this behavior. Drag depends on air density, velocity squared, the vehicle's coefficient of drag, and frontal area. Air density itself isn't constant. It changes with altitude, humidity, temperature, and atmospheric pressure. Higher elevations mean thinner air. More humidity slightly increases density. Even weather systems can have an effect. For this analysis, air density had to be estimated. Based on elevation, temperature, and reasonable humidity assumptions, a value of 1.1 kilograms per cubic meter was used. This is a reasonable approximation, but it also highlights a key limitation. Without precise environmental data, perfect accuracy isn't possible. Rolling resistance works differently. It's governed by a dimensionless coefficient multiplied by the normal force, which is simply the vehicle's mass times gravitational acceleration. This represents how much force the tires and drivetrain resist motion regardless of speed. While this calculation doesn't explicitly separate drivetrain losses like internal friction or joint resistance, those effects can effectively be folded into rolling resistance for practical analysis. With these equations in place, the spreadsheet converts speeds from miles per hour into meters per second, calculates aerodynamic drag, calculates mechanical resistance, and then predicts how the vehicle should slow down over time if those values are correct. Initial assumptions were made for vehicle mass, frontal area, gravitational acceleration, and rolling resistance. Even slope was considered. Although the test was conducted on a nearly flat surface, the vehicle was reportedly traveling very slightly uphill. Interestingly, even a small slope can dramatically skew results, sometimes producing physically impossible outcomes like a negative drag coefficient. To avoid that issue, slope was removed from the model entirely. When the calculated curve was plotted and compared to the data points extracted from the video, something unusual appeared. No matter how the coefficients were adjusted within realistic bounds, the middle data points refused to line up properly. They consistently appeared too high. Extreme values, like unrealistically low drag coefficients, could force a partial fit, but then the beginning or end of the curve would fall apart. This inconsistency suggests one of several possibilities. The data points may not be perfectly accurate. There may have been subtle wind gusts during parts of the test, or the test itself may simply not provide enough data to draw firm conclusions from a single run. This is exactly why coastdown tests are typically repeated many times. Running the test 10, 15, or even 20 times, ideally in both directions, helps average out environmental noise and random variability. That process allows engineers to isolate true mechanical resistance and aerodynamic resistance values with much more confidence. Even with these limitations, one conclusion stands out clearly. The deceleration curve appears almost linear. That's a crucial observation. A near-linear coastdown strongly suggests that mechanical resistance dominates, while aerodynamic drag contributes very little. In other words, the vehicle's aerodynamic efficiency is exceptionally high. At higher speeds, aerodynamic drag should normally cause noticeable curvature in the deceleration profile. The fact that this curvature is minimal implies that the coefficient of drag is extremely low. While it's impossible to pin down an exact number from a single test under uncertain conditions, the overall trend is unmistakable. This test doesn't provide final answers, but it does provide strong evidence that aerodynamic drag is not the primary limiting factor here. Evidence that rolling resistance and mechanical forces are doing most of the work in slowing the vehicle down, and evidence that from an aerodynamic standpoint, this vehicle is performing at a level far beyond conventional designs. With more test runs, better environmental data, and repeated measurements, the numbers would become clearer. But even now, the physics tells a compelling story. When a vehicle glides this long, this smoothly, and with such a linear deceleration profile, it's not an accident. It's the result of deliberate design choices pushing aerodynamic efficiency to its limits. And that, more than any single number, is what makes this coastdown test so revealing.